Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This is the culmination of week 9. It has taken more than 12,000 hours to make this competition possible. And 48 students with 11 nationalities from 5 continents have flown more than 80,000 miles to be here today. And after 1,536 hours of case solving, this very moment is what it's all come down to. Welcome to the CBS Case Competition Finals 2015. For the past 48 hours, our 12 international teams have been through an emotional roller coaster of great successes, dead ends, and brilliant ideas. I know because last year I myself was part of one of the teams who stood here on this very stage exactly 1 year ago and presented their solution. And therefore, I can promise you 2 things. Firstly, that being part of CBS Case Competition is a lifetime experience. And secondly, ladies and gentlemen, that we are about to witness something truly fantastic in here today. Again, welcome. Before we begin today's official event, I have some practicalities that I need to get out of the way. First of all, my name is Simone, and I'm going to be your host for this afternoon's event. Secondly, I'd like to kindly ask you to turn off your mobile phones and not take any pictures during the show. And secondly, I ask you to please not leave the room outside of the break in order to not disturb the participants in their presentations. With that out of the way, we can begin. Today, we're going to witness the 3 finalist presentations. And after the first 2 presentations, we'll have a short break of 15 minutes. After the break, you'll come back for the 3rd and final finalist presentation. Before our jury announces today's winner, you will be able to sit back and enjoy our surprise live act. But before we get to that, you have a very important job. We will ask you to vote for the best presenter amongst the finalist teams. So please, as you're watching the presentations, keep your eyes and ears open to the key characteristics that you feel define a truly great presenter. Now, with that, I'd like to make a first and very important introduction. The backbone of CBS Case Competition is our jury. They are the talented and experienced individuals who ask the tough questions and judge the presentations and finally decide who we can name the winner of CBS Case Competition. So please give your warmest welcome to our honored jury. Anders Stons, CEO and partner, Deloitte Denmark. Britt Melby Jensen, CEO at Zealand Pharma. Jørgen Huno Rasmussen, Chairman at Lundbeck Foundation. Katrine Bjarkov Bensin, SVP Group Strategy at Pandora. Lars Winge Frederiksen, Chairman at Matas. Lone Føns Schrøder, Vice Chairman at Saxo Bank. Maria Hjort, CEO at Mercer Denmark. Mikkel Pilemann, VP Carlsberg Brand Global. Niels Ulrik Morsten, CEO at Danske Capital. Ole Andersen, Chairman at Danske Bank, Bang & Olufsen, Christian Hansen and Zebra. Søren Bjerre Nielsen, Chairman at the National Bank of Denmark, VKR Holding and MT Højgaard. Thomas Dalsgaard, Executive VP Thermal Power at Dong Energy. Dr. Torsten Brackert, Partner and Managing Director at the Boston Consulting Group. Thomas Pietrangeli, Senior Vice President, Consumer Denmark at Arla Foods. Tommy Ahlers, VP Workflow Cloud at Citrix. Susanne Mørk Kok, CCO at DSB. And Mr. Stig Pasva, Acting CEO at DSB. Thank you and welcome. Now, without a case company, there wouldn't be a CBS case competition. And this year, we were lucky enough to have a case company that is deeply embedded into the lives and culture of every Danish citizen. A company that continuously works towards moving us forward and keeping us connected. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to introduce to you the case company of this year's CBS case competition, DSB.
The world is still recovering from crisis. Governments and businesses everywhere are seeking to regain growth. And better integrated, smarter solutions in all parts of society are a necessity in such an endeavor. We modern consumers are constantly on the move. So being connected is more important for each of us than ever before, since we've come to expect seamless connectivity and high levels of integration in all aspects of our lives. In our globalized society, we want to make our own schedule, and still more of us want to live in urban areas. Our demands for individual mobility therefore apply even greater pressure on our transportation systems. It's therefore essential that we take subsequent action today to improve the transportation systems of tomorrow. Bearing all these factors in mind, it's with great pleasure we introduce you to this year's case company, Denmark's State Railway, DSB. In Denmark, there are many ways to travel, either across the country or within its cities, for both business or pleasure. DSB's mission is to facilitate sustainable growth and mobility through a convenient and reliable train operation, thereby increasing the amounts of passengers and building a solid reputation through more satisfied customers.
DSB plays an important role in the history of Denmark. Since we inaugurated the first railroad service in 1847, our services have connected the Danes and has played a vital role in improving mobility to ensure an efficient and competitive job market. Over the last 2 years, we have been focusing on improving the profitability, and we expect for 2014 to show a result of nearly 500 million Danish kroner. With DSB back on track, we are now encountering one of the most challenging, but also one of the most promising periods in recent times.
Denmark is changing rapidly, and change will bring progress. The government is investing 100 billion Danish kroner in railroad infrastructure, and DSB is simultaneously streamlining its train services, as well as seeking further integration with the other means of public transportation, in a strategic ambition to be the backbone of the Danish transportation system. To realize this responsibility, DSB needs to ensure that trains operate on time, that its stations are safe and clean, and that traffic information is readily available, so that traveling with DSB will always be a pleasurable experience through a focus directed on customers' needs.
In order to achieve the ambitious growth targets of the Danish government, DSB needs to focus even more on improving the customer experience. This is why I challenge you to come up with a 3-year business plan on how to boost the amount of passenger kilometers by focusing on the customer experience. I look forward to see how talents from 12 universities from around the world will come up with great solutions for this. I wish you good luck.
To introduce this year's case and DSB, please give your warmest welcome to the acting CEO of DSB, Mr. Stig Pastrand.
Thank you, Simone. I think for DSB to be here and to be part of the case competition is a great privilege for us. When asked if we wanted to participate, I think for us that was an honor. I think we have a business that is very important for Denmark. We've been through a phase of, as it also says in the video, of dramatic change. There was a need of turnaround in the business. We have greatly improved our results, demonstrated by publishing the annual accounts yesterday with a very much improved bottom line, reduced debt. But at the same time also we have increased our punctuality and thereby hopefully delivering a better product for Denmark and for the Danes. The privilege to be here is very much how can we actually combine what we have achieved so far in a very complex business, but which is a business that exists all over the world. And I'm sure, by seeing already some of your presentations, and I look forward to seeing the other presentations also here in the grand finale, is on how can we actually make what you have learned and what you have put into place from your schools around the world and combine that with the real life example of DSB. We stand in front of a great challenge. We stand in front of a political ambition of doubling passenger kilometers. And how to achieve that is not a simple task. And what I've seen already so far has made a lot of input that I'm really looking forward to go back and implement pieces of. And I hope you will allow me to contact some of you as going back, because I'm sure we will see 3 great presentations here in a little while, but there's elements and great stuff in all what I've seen so far. I think also to get to this place, and as we also just had heard earlier, will not happen without a tremendous work from all the people that has done this on a voluntary basis. I'm deeply impressed by the work done by the CBS competition team, by the board that stands behind that, and of course not least by the 2 case writers, which I've spent time with myself and the rest of my team. So I think we should already now give a great hand to the people at CBS Case Competition. I think I will not take more of your time right now. I think I look forward to see the presentations. I'm sure the one I've already seen will be even sharper, even better, and we'll do their utmost to outcompete the other 2 in the grand final. So looking forward to that, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Stig. Now, CBS Case Competition and Week 9 is a lot more than what you're going to witness in here today. Our 12 international teams have had a full program of social activities, dinners, and events all throughout Week 9 before the case solving even began. So before we get to their presentations, we'd like to show you a short video to give you an insight into the week they've had.
Going on at the school while you're cracking the case and walking around Copenhagen? what is the weight limit for the mandatory death penalty for smuggling drugs?
I guess there's going to be some kind of competition about that.
At the moment, the teams are separated into mixed teams. They are doing the team building session where we have 8 different stations that is supposed to test their ability to work together, but also encourage socializing across nationalities, which is one of our core values in the organization, to create lifetime experiences.
I'm right, I have it in the middle of my legs right now.
It's with great pleasure we introduce you to this year's case company, Denmark's State Railway.
I personally think it's a very creative case, so we can have a lot of possible solutions that are just like out of the box, very innovative, and something very completely new, like for whole Denmark. In addition to that, I think it's very cool that it has like international importance, so you can translate it into like for like the German rail company, or like for the Swiss one, or the one in Auckland. So all in all, it's very nice to have a case that's so open and wide.
I'm expecting a very intense competition on Friday. I am very excited, and I think all the other teams here are very highly competent and successful teams, and I'm excited to hear what the other teams come up with.
Well, that was fun, but I know that you're all just here for the presentations, so I think we should get them started. This morning, we had our preliminary rounds, where our 12 international teams were divided into 3 groups of 4 universities, and a finalist was found from each group. In Group A, the following 4 universities competed: the American University in Cairo, McGill University, the Rotterdam School of Management Erasmus University, and Aalto University Business School. Well, when presenting the finalists from this group, I'm a bit nervous about whether they'll actually be outside of the door when we open it in just a bit. Because this Sunday, when all the other teams had arrived and were doing their team presentations, this team weren't there. They actually arrived from Canada just 5 minutes before their first team presentation. So you can say they got their timing down. Please give your warmest welcome to McGill. You're fast. Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. Are you excited? Good. Now, you will have 15 minutes to present your solution. And my colleagues will warn you when there are 5 minutes left, and again when there is 1 minute left. After your time is up, you will be allowed to finish your sentence. After your presentation, you will have 15 minutes to answer the questions of the jury. And between you, you have one clicker and one microphone, which your colleague has already taken from me. So is everything clear and understood? No, your slides will come on in just a second. Okay. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Now. Hello?
No, that's
I think.
Hello. Oh, we're good. We're live.
Okay. I think McGill are a little relieved right now that I'm not on their team. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pastava, executives of DSB, as well as honored members of the jury. My name is Jalen Gadia, and I'm joined here today by my colleagues Rachel Kirby, Sammy Zubair, and Lara Ballantyne. We are from McGill University in Canada, where it is currently minus 20 degrees, so we're even more delighted to be here in Copenhagen to present to you today our strategy for DSB moving forward. Our agenda for today consists of a current situation, as well as outlining the objectives that we will address in our recommendation, going through our three-pronged approach of improving distance, satisfaction, and the brand of the company, and finally wrapping up with some finances as well as an implementation strategy.
So with so many stakeholders, DSB has high expectations politically, economically, and in terms of its reputation. Furthermore, we've identified key opportunities and challenges for the company. The first being the trend of online and digital, which is the way of the future and a trend that DSB must capitalize on. The second is the fact that the popular east-west routes will be severely interrupted by construction in the next 3 years, and DSB must find a solution to accommodate for these delays. And finally, there's a large portion of Danes who are willing and motivated to take the train, however, very few do. And so DSB must find a solution to convert these potential customers into train users in order to sustain future growth. So based on these opportunities and challenges, we've come up with several alternatives. And when we align them against the decision criteria that you've presented us, it is clear that the most viable solutions for the next 3 years are commercialization, improving technology, and marketing the brand. And if you have questions regarding the eliminated alternatives, those can be answered in Q&A.
So we're thrilled to bring to you the DSB strategy. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking new customers the extra distance, we're going to be satisfying our existing consumers more, and we're going to be building the DSB brand. So our first objective is to increase the number of passenger kilometers. And how are we going to do this? We're going to commercialize the surrounding areas around our train station, increase the number of park and ride facilities available, as well as provide additional amenities in partly refurbished train stations. This is going to help us capture new customer segments. Number two, we're going to maximize customer satisfaction. And how we're going to do this is by deploying a comprehensive digital strategy focused on increasing communication with our customer. This is going to facilitate an improved customer experience. And lastly, we're going to build the DSB brand. We're going to implement a marketing strategy focused on communicating the benefits of railway travel and DSB. This is going to build a better reputation for DSB amongst the Danes and build better trust. So, the opportunity as we see it is by implementing the DSB strategy, Danish state railways will be able to increase the amount of passenger kilometers in Denmark by over 7.5%, and they will be able to focus on improving the customer experience and remain profitable, realizing a net present value of between 3.4 and 4.9 billion Danish kroner by 2018, all while satisfying the triple bottom line of economic, political, and reputational gain.
So the first element of our strategy really focuses on increasing the number of kilometers traveled by passengers. So as Rachel mentioned earlier, there are 32% of Danish people that are willing to take the train but are opting not to. And we want to really capitalize on this market and incentivize them to take the train. So who are these consumers? As you can see from the graph above, 80% of Danish people choose to take passenger cars as opposed to public transport.
And oftentimes, it is these consumers are living more than 2 kilometers away from the nearest train station, and so it is much simpler for them to simply hop in their car and drive to their destination, rather than getting in their car, having to worry about finding parking, and ultimately taking the train to where they're trying to get to. And so we want to make this experience as seamless as possible and really capitalize on these consumers and increase the train share of this pie, as you can see above. So this brings us into the distance portion of our strategy, which really focuses on improving and commercializing the stations that these customers will be traveling to. So we want to work with 20 stations along the east-west line and really make them as much of a destination as they are a point of departure. And the way that we plan to do this is by, first of all, mitigating the parking issue. So we are going to increase the facilities for both biking and car parking and allowing people to simply not have to worry about coming and not being able to find parking, but actually being able to just get in and making it not even a worry on their minds. Thirdly, we want to really capitalize on these stations and make them a very enjoyable place for people who are coming to take the train. And so the existing facilities that we've selected are really very beautiful buildings, and we want to maintain the current structure but really work to develop them. So we want to implement complementary Wi-Fi both on the platform and in the station, and also implement cafe kiosks just to make the consumer experience more enjoyable overall. And the reason we've chosen the east-west line in particular to target our strategy is because of the upcoming delays that we are going to be seeing on this line in the next 3 years. And we want to specifically make sure that we increase the number of consumers and also don't lose consumers during this process.
So the second facet of our strategy, if this clicker will work, is focusing on satisfaction, which is the #1 priority for DSB moving forward, as improved satisfaction will lead to higher growth and help drive it, which presents us with a very unique and interesting opportunity for improvement and innovation. So if you look at the drivers of customer satisfaction, we see that punctuality and traffic information are of most importance, and this is what we'd like to focus on today. So as Bain Denmark has been creating some issues and a lot of delays along the lines, we know that we may not be able to affect this directly. However, we believe it is very important to continue working with them and negotiating with them to reduce the maintenance during peak hours, which really has a big impact. However, 30% of delays are also our responsibility. And a lot of this can be seen by conductors waiting for passengers who are late, and this causes a reaction throughout the whole system. So by eliminating this and benchmarking off some of the top railway systems in Europe, such as Switzerland, we can really reduce our impact on punctuality. And secondly, we have traffic information, which is a huge driver of customer satisfaction as long as it is reliable. So we'd like to commit to a full-fledged digital strategy utilizing both the Riseplan and Risecart systems available to us. So looking at our digital approach, we view Riseplan as DSB's most opportunistic asset. It is hugely popular among Danes, with over 20 million views on their website per month. We propose that by adding an account to Riseplan, we can better customize features for the individual customer, as well as gain data and add new features to it. So by leveraging this, we can really further customer satisfaction. One of the main issues we encountered was, of course, with seat reservation. So we'd like to add this feature to the new Riseplan app and website, which can really help improve customer satisfaction, mostly along the more long-haul F&R lines. Secondly, we know that reliable real-time information is what customers are seeking. Currently, DSB has been trying to do this using both wait technologies and phone technologies to try and communicate this to customers. But after speaking with Mr. Pastava, we were informed that a lot of the times during peak hours when customers want this information, they're overwhelmed and cannot effectively communicate this on time. So we propose that by hiring an additional 5 employees directly responsible for managing all communication systems, whether it's on the Riseplan app or on screens in the station, we really want to be reliable in the information we're giving to our customers in terms of the information they're looking for. And finally, with rich data collection, we can integrate both Risecart, Riseplan, and Wi-Fi data to further our operational efficiencies. So what are the real benefits? Well, to the consumer, we want to provide a seamless public transport experience with greater transparency and accurate information available to our customers, and also provide them with the ability to choose to travel in greater comfort and further customize their experience with DSB. And for DSB, we can capitalize on both industry and consumer trends as gained by all the data we will be collecting through our apps, provide higher customer satisfaction, accuracy, and reliability, but also improve our operational efficiency and allocate our resources better during peak hours.
So the third and arguably the most important element of our strategy involves repositioning the DSB brand in the minds of consumers. So as you can see from the chart above, the second most number of popular terms associated with DSB include delays, waiting time, and slow. And we find these terms a little alarming considering the fact that DSB is actually one of the most efficiently run train systems in Europe. So we really want to capitalize on changing this impression in the minds of consumers. What we also found quite interesting is that actually the majority of consumers that feel this way about DSB don't actually use the service. So we want to roll out an extensive marketing campaign that specifically targets the light and non-users and really repositions the DSB brand in their mind and makes them much more likely to choose it when they're trying to find a way to get to their final destination. So what this really involves is removing delays, waiting time, and slow from the vocabulary of people looking to describe DSB and having them instead focus on the positive aspects, which include plus time that is available to them by taking the train, as well as efficiency because the train is actually a very efficient means of transportation, and also the fact that the train is actually one of the most environmentally friendly methods of public transportation available today.
And this is where the Buy Time campaign comes into play. On a daily basis, Danes spend 250,000 hours in traffic. That's a huge amount of wasted time. And that means that one of the key unique benefits that train transportation can offer customers in comparison to other forms of transportation is what DSB likes to call plus time, that extra hands-free time that consumers have on the train to answer their email, do their work, or even read a book. And so what we want customers to understand with this campaign is that they're not just buying a train ticket, but in fact, they're buying time. And so what this campaign will consist of is placing clever and unique ads in the right place at the right time. And what that means is capturing customers when they're in their most time-wasting moments. So for example, placing billboards in high traffic areas in and out of the city center to capture those commuters who are just sitting and waiting in their cars and to emphasize to them that there is a better, more time-saving solution. Secondly, we would recommend placing print ads in Barresso bathrooms outside of the city center to again capture customers who are waiting and wasting time, say, drying their hands, and to internalize that message that there are time-saving alternatives. And finally, our third recommendation would be to wrap trains in the campaign's hashtags and promotional materials to spread that message to the more remote areas of Denmark. And furthermore, this campaign will drive traffic to your social media sites using the unique hashtags, but more importantly, it will drive them to the website where they can find online materials that outline each of the aforementioned changes that will take place over the course of the next 3 years.
So, in terms of financial impact, what we said is we could basically take a certain percentage of car commuters and turn them into train commuters. Now, in terms of utilization, what this looks like is we can realize annual growth of 3 to 4% in terms of passenger kilometers and utilization. But what's more stunning is in terms of net income. And because we've increased the utilization of our trains and we have high operational leverage, we can realize an annual increase from 19.5 to 16.5% in net income. Now, in terms of the summary metrics, what we can do is we can basically have enhanced top-line growth. With Mr. Pastor, what you told us was incredibly important to DSB. And so we can increase revenue by 1.2 to 1.9 billion Danish kroner, which represents a 10 to 15% increase in revenue. Number two, this project is profitable. We can realize a positive NPV of between 3.4 and 4.9 billion Danish kroner. Lastly, we can exceed the desired passenger growth targets. At DSB, we have targeted 7.5%. With this strategy, we can realize an increase in passenger kilometers ranging from 9% to 12.5%.
So in terms of implementation, we'd really like to get started right away and begin enhancing the Rise of Plan interface and adding these features to the app. We'd also like to begin enhancing some of the stations we've outlined along the east-west line. At the beginning of 2016, we would like to launch our Buy Time marketing campaign, as well as simultaneously launch the new and improved Rise of Plan app with its new features, and open our first 4 enhanced stations. Looking a year ahead, we'd like to add an additional 8 park and ride facilities, as well as refurbished stations, and more importantly, be evaluating the data and feedback we have been receiving from our online digital strategy. In 2018, we will add another 8 park and go as well as leisure train refurbishments, evaluate our overall strategic initiatives and adjust accordingly, and close out our campaign in 2018. So, by implementing the DSB strategy, distance, satisfaction, and brand, the Danish System Railway can increase passenger kilometers by between 9 and 12.5%, which exceeds the 7.5% target that you have asked us to do, and also satisfies the first pillar of our triple bottom line in political. Secondly, we can realize an NPV of between 3.4 and 4.9 billion Danish kroner, as well as increase revenues by 10 to 15%, outlining that we can both increase top-line growth and remain profitable, satisfying the second pillar in that we are economic. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, we can regain the trust of the Danes by increasing reliability and satisfaction through both our digital and marketing campaigns, which rounds out the triple bottom line of being political, economic, and reputational. Thank you for your time. We'd now like to open the floor to questions.
May now ask questions for 15 minutes.
Thank you for a great presentation. I especially like your overview of the alternatives and the analysis that's presented by it. However, the value relies on how realistic the input is on the different alternatives. And given your unique digital approach, I would expect that that would mean less waiting time at stations. So this brings me to my question. Why is it that it would increase rail travel and maximize satisfaction to improve and upgrade the stations?
That's specifically why we really wanted to target the east-west line in particular, because as you've outlined to us, over the next 3 years, there's going to be quite a lot of construction going into the stations along that line in order to improve the track. And so there will likely be some waiting times associated with stations along this line. So as you can see from the commercialization locations that we have selected, they all exist usually in the more northern parts of Denmark. And this is the line that we anticipate is going to be having slowdowns and potentially more customers waiting at the station. So that's why we wanted to implement the Wi-Fi as well as the coffee to make that wait time at least more enjoyable for them.
Just to add on to that slightly, we're also looking at targeting new customers with this strategy, which is why, as well as on the east-west lines, waiting times are not as rapid as the S trains. So that was another reason why.
I think this was good, guys, I must say. I'm quite impressed. I particularly like the idea of turning the perception of being late into buying time. I mean, that's counter-obvious, and I think it can be very convincing. What I haven't fully understood yet is who exactly would it be who takes the train more often in the future and why? So I like the idea of having parking and bikes at more stations, but I mean, who is it? Is it commuters? Is it leisure travelers, business travelers? Who is it, and why don't they do it already today?
So we'd be targeting commuters who are currently light to basically non-users of our system. And why this would appeal to them is basically right now they're taking their car in and they're waiting in traffic. With our marketing strategy, what we're making them aware of is that there is a better alternative and that they can essentially save time, do work on the train, and get to their destination faster. So we're catering to basically people who live more in suburbia and basically who commute into the city every day.
And with the marketing strategy, we are primarily targeting the light and non-users because as was identified, it's primarily those who use very little or don't use at all that have this negative perception. And in fact, those who use it often, the heavy and medium users, do have a good perception of the service of the company. And so by targeting the light users and the non-users, we want to change their perspective of what the company is.
Thanks for a great presentation. I also really like your focus on time, which I think is a key point. However, you're looking at the political and economic and reputational situation. Could you drill a bit down to your understanding of the stakeholders around DSB?
Yeah, so in terms of stakeholder, as a public transport company, DSB is servicing everyone, and everyone kind of has their hand in the pie. So from a political perspective, we do have the government who is wanting train transport and alternative methods of transport to really increase at a rapid rate. We also have our business that we need to be aware of, as you guys did experience loss and profits over the last several years, and that has to be turned around. And then of course, everyone who uses the service. And this service is available to everyone in Denmark, essentially. It's accessible by so many people. And when you're targeting that many people, you really want to try and improve your service to a point where everyone finds it satisfactory. So this is very difficult to do, but with the strategy, we believe that we have satisfied those main three parties of political, economic, and reputation amongst our users.
Great presentation. One question, you haven't touched very much about the impact on the organization, also from a human resource perspective. I mean, it will have an impact, all these changes, but also the increase in the passengers. What are your reflections on the need for adapting the organization to this?
So the beauty of the strategy is essentially that we're increasing the utilization of the trains. So it's not like we need to hire more potentially train maintenance workers or things like that. And in fact, in our revenue and net income calculations to predict the profitability of this, we have kept the same margin. Basically, we're going to be hiring people as needed to basically cater to the increased demand for our existing trains.
Also, in terms of an organizational perspective, that's really why we wanted to brand our strategy as the DSB strategy, because we feel like it will resonate very well with existing employees of the company, and we do feel that it does fit in line with their objectives as well. The one issue that we might encounter is with the conductors who are used to waiting for passengers that are typically late, but what we really want to emphasize with that is that improving or implementing this policy really strengthens our organization overall, and we feel that through the necessary training and kind of having them see the benefit of it, they will also jump on board the DSB strategy.
Yeah, thanks for a great presentation from me as well. And also thanks for not going down to font size 8 on your slides. It's really good slides. So just one observation. You might also, and you alluded to it with the changes on the east-west train line, that you might even have a decline, right? So there's a worst case here, right? That is that the passenger kilometers are declining. You are overachieving with your estimate here, saying 10 to 15% increase, where the target is lower than that. You have a lot of constraints in this case, but one of the constraints you did not have is, you should only achieve profitability, but you didn't have to grow revenue. Yet you're growing revenue 10 to 15%. Did you consider, if you look at a more grim outlook with more downward pointing trends here, did you consider whether you could even go further on your initiatives if you did not grow revenue and kept the bottom line at the same level as it is today?
So we feel that essentially to meet this objective and to basically to grow by 7.5%, as basically DSB has targeted in response to the government's request to basically double public transportation. What we basically, sorry, your question again? So this initiative is targeted at actually growing basically your customer base, and that's why revenue grows. We really focused on the top line and not so much on the bottom line, so no, it would not grow. But we believe we can get more customers with this strategy.
Also from my side, a great presentation you made. Your buy time campaign is focusing on commuters, if I understand right. But the company is capacity constrained at peak hours. How do you plan to cope with that?
So with our digital strategy, this is really how we wanted to improve our peak hour transport and potential overload on the train system. So hopefully what we can realize with commuters, they are taking most of the time these F&R trains, which are longer haul. So by implementing our seat reservation, as well as reliable on-time information, as well as with the personal accounts, they can customize, our customers can customize when they want to take the train. So perhaps there are customers who are taking trains at peak hours that don't know that they're taking it at peak hours, so this can help relieve that. But hopefully with with the digital strategy, we can really make sure that everyone is getting the information they need and know when to travel and kind of optimize it.
Can I ask on the satisfaction, on the distance part? So you have this park and rides concepts, but have you given a thought to sort of end-to-end solutions? Because what do you do when the train arrives at the station? What do you do then?
So we gave a consideration to basically bicycle sharing programs or even picking people up. And basically what we found that didn't work so well potentially with the bicycle solutions is many cities have implemented this, and it's not a good business case. As for basically picking people up at their door, it's fundamentally costly, and the parking solution really gets people to get themselves to come to the station, and it makes that convenient, so people can basically opt to use the train in a more convenient manner.
Any more?
Maybe one more. As apparently no one else has questions and you want more. So when I thought about the case, what mainly struck me was the objective, which was different from a normal, let's say fully normal private operating company that needs to achieve returns, etc. Because it was only about passenger kilometers. And then the second dimension of that challenge is that the kilometers you can basically get for free, because they are there, right? They're just not used. So you have huge amounts of unused train capacity. And now I think you're going a little bit after that, but it's not really going into how can I find a way to fill the capacity that is currently not used, and really think about, market potential, you can say, outside of that traditional commuter world, etc., where you could make people use the trains more, maybe partnering with other institutions, corporations who would also be interested in having more traffic off-peak times.
One of the things we actually did really consider is potentially implementing something to the extent of a loyalty program. So incentivizing consumers to travel more kilometers and have a reward at the end of that. So perhaps the consumer that's typically taking the S train short distances to and from every day, they wouldn't necessarily think to venture out into different parts of Denmark. And so by maybe adding that incentive and having them venture out a little further to get those kilometers and ultimately earn that reward, that definitely bodes well for tourism in other places of Denmark as well. So I think there is definitely the potential to capitalize on increasing kilometers traveled.
And in terms of converting those who currently commute maybe by car to become train passengers, we fully believe that it is going to need to be a switch in the mind of the consumer. There are Danes who are willing and motivated to take the train, and they still don't. So it just needs to be a change in perception, and that's where the branding strategy comes in. In terms of passenger kilometers, we will be spreading that out through entirely through Denmark, even reaching the far out areas. And so bringing them into the city core, that's where a large part of the kilometers will come in.
You are addressing the issue of customer satisfaction, and you also highlighted that one of the reasons for the customer dissatisfaction actually is a lack of punctuality. You highlight in your presentation two issues. One is to continue to work with Banen Denmark in order to have the maintenance work done in more frequent time or better times, and the other thing is to discontinue the waiting for late passengers. Have you considered other alternatives for that also, in order to, for example, take out some of the complexity which is in DSB in terms of the number of tickets, in terms of the number of lines served, etc.?
Certainly. So with punctuality as an issue, as we outlined in our digital strategy, we will be gaining a lot of information on the way that our customers ride the train and use the network. And as we've seen, Banen Denmark does contribute a lot to our punctuality. And so what we hope to do is, with this information knowledge that we will be getting, using business intelligence technology, we can hope to optimize when they do their maintenance within their business hours, which is something that is a concern for them. However, it would be more optimal for us to do maintenance at night when no one's using the train. However, for them, it's not so. So by using this information that we will be gaining, we can hope to continue working with them to better improve that. Yes, that there are unexpected factors as well that we were not sure how to address.
If there are more time, maybe you can just take us through your investment program.
The investment, sorry?
Yeah, investments.
The slide's not working. Where? That's the letters. So basically, in terms of the marketing is spread over a 3-year period. The first year, because we're wrapping the trains, it's going to cost us about 28 million Danish kroner, followed by 8 million and 8 million again in the second year. We're also basically going to be acquiring potentially more land around the stations if need be to provide the park and ride facilities. And so that's going to result in a total capex of about 344. Back one slide. Of a total of 344 million Danish kroner, and that would be spread over 3 years as well. And we've looked, and we believe that DSB has basically the resources to actually acquire this. Those would be our main expenditures as a result of the strategy.
Questions? Thank you for a great presentation. I think we should move directly to the second presentation of the afternoon. In Group B, the following 4 universities competed: the University of St. Gallen, Thammasat University, the University of North Carolina Keenan Flagler Business School, and the Copenhagen Business School. The finalist from Group B has participated and won CBS case competition many times before, but have been absent from the competition for the past couple of years. So we're very excited to have them back, and please give your warmest welcome to Thammasat University. Welcome, guys. You look excited? Yeah? Good. Now, you know the drill. You have 15 minutes to present your solution, and my colleagues here will warn you when there are 5 minutes left, and again when there is 1 minute left. And when your time is up, you will be allowed to finish your sentence. After your presentation, you have 15 minutes to answer questions from the jury. Between you, you have 1 microphone and 1 clicker. And is everything clear and understood? Good. The floor is yours.
For over 100 years, DSB has been an integral part in the development of Denmark. With extensive railway networks, the company served as a foundation for both socio-cultural and economic progress of the country. However, as technologies move forward, new and better means of transportations have been developed. Together with the recent turnaround from the poor financial performance, it is now more important than ever for DSB to devise a strategy that lays a solid foundation for its future growth and keep the company relevant. Good afternoon, damer og herrer. My name is Wharton. This is Siwabong, Nishamon, and Ribu. We're from Thammasat University, and today we'll be guiding you through our recommendations that we believe will put the company in the right strategic direction. Now, CEO Bong will be giving you the overview of the current situation. What are the key challenges that the company is facing?
Thank you, Wasim. So currently, DSB has been facing a poor brand perception. And according to our extensive analysis, we can attribute this to two major causes. First being the Danish perception towards a state-owned company. Danish people pay one of the highest tax brackets in the world, and it is completely natural for them to expect more of the service from the company. And in this point, we can see that DSB cannot live up to the expectation of the Danish people. For the second reason, we can attribute this on the business fundamentals. We see the Danish associate the brand with delays, waiting time, and slowness. This means that the company cannot deliver an enough performance to these Danish consumers. This implies that DSB's reputational problem is rooted both in pure perception and business fundamentals. However, if we take a look from the other end of the spectrum, we see that political pressure also plays a comparable thumb. Recently, the Danish government has embarked on a policy of doubling passenger kilometers within 2030. And what this means for the industry as a whole is 3.4% CAGR, whereas historically speaking, the company has been growing approximately 1.5. So this mandates that the company needs to deliver industry growth, and therefore it embarks on a 3-year mission of improving 7.5% increase in passenger kilometers. So in order to achieve this, there are also key focuses the company should address. First being the core consumer experience, innovation, and long-term perspective. So this implies that DSB must improve its brand perception while also deliver its performance accordingly. So ladies and gentlemen, we present to you 2 strategies in which we believe will help guide the company in the right strategic direction. The first one will help the company overcome the challenge of how DSB can change the negative perception. This will be done through system integration and the performance enhancement. For the second strategy, it will focus on what value experience DSB can offer to the customers. This will be done to the enhancement of train experience and overall boost the passenger kilometers. And now Nishimon will walk you through our first strategy.
Thank you, CEO Wong. Now, to deliver the satisfaction to the consumer, we must see what are the drivers that drive the satisfaction. The top 2s are the punctuality and frequency, and also the traffic information. So we have to look back how these 3 play a role in our operation flow. First, the punctuality plays a highly involved technical issues such as signaling and planning, which Banedanmark is responsible for. Next is the frequency, which is controlled by DSB. However, it's currently limited by the high marginal cost during rush hours. And lastly, the information traffic is jointly provided to the consumer with Banedanmark. With a flow as follow, we can deliver to the customer the satisfaction by making this flow as seamlessly as possible. So now we take a look back of how DSB is delivering this information to the consumer. Currently, DSB is delivering with 3 platforms. Starting with DSB sites. DSB site has information and ticketing. However, we see the inconsistency between the application and the website itself. Next is Reisekortet. It's one-step ticketing card for all modes of transportation. However, it is not providing any of trip information. And lastly, Reiseplan is one-stop traffic information. However, this has no ticketing and also the information is inaccurate. As you can see the review from the consumers that they're saying that information is inaccurate and also the information is not real-time updated. As you can see, DSB has all the first service to offer to the consumer. However, we advise DSB to consolidate its current products and services so that it can provide a superior one-stop solution to the consumer. So as mentioned, to make it most seamlessly as possible, DSB must start from Banedanmark to consumer. So we start from leg 1, that the issue is faulty signaling system causing the delay. However, we believe that DSB and Banedanmark have been improving in this area. As you can see, the implementation of European Rail Traffic Management System, which we rolled out in the year 2015 to 2017. What this gives to DSB is that it has a real-time information, meaning that the train will be more effective, and also the information will be delivered to the consumer effectively. And also, there will be 80% less delays causing from signaling. Now, moving on, as we have accurate information, we need to see how can we deliver to consumer. The current issue is that there's trip hassle, also the accurate of the information. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you DSB on the go, which will be integrating the function of one-stop trip plan for all consumers. As you can see, it won't be implemented on only the application, but also across all platforms that DSB is currently offering. Also, we want to emphasize on the user-friendliness of this application. Starting from the trip information, as we want to offer the flexibility to the consumer, we want to offer all modes of transportation from starting point to the end point, and also the route selection of the consumer to optimize the time. Next is the ticketing and payment that we want to offer physical pickup of the ticket and also the online application that you can use it as well. And lastly, we won't stop our service as soon as the consumer made the payment. We want to give real update information concerning the time as the when and where the consumer should be to make the trip possible. And also we want to inform them about the problem, delay that they can know ahead. And also lastly, as they reach a destination, we want to inform them as well. On all, this information accuracy will be controlled by ERTMS. As we have improved all of the performance backstage, we want to present to you less hassle, more heads up to the consumer. This, we want to create positive brand perception, raise the awareness, which eventually increase the usage of DSB trained users. And all in all, we want, as we are collaborating with other modes of transportation, it will increase public transportation usage as well. The key message of this campaign is that we want to convey convenience, less hassle, real time, more time, of the more heads up, which will be the touch point of mass advertisement and also digital advertisement. As we can see that 35% of Danes take the mass advertisement notice and follow up with digital advertisement. The potential collaboration you can see is on both sides. Next, we will welcome you on board with the enhancement of experience on train.
Thank you, Nishamon. Now let's move on to our second analysis and recommendation. So the overall goal of DSB is total increase of passenger kilometers of 7.5% in 3 years. So taking a look at the graph above, we wanted to shift your focus towards the east and west trains, which represent 35% of DSB's total passenger kilometers. And with this 35%, it contributes 38% of DSB's overall revenue. So with the focus on the east-west train lines, there are two main obstacles facing this. First, limited service, and also customer experience. So looking on the satisfaction end, the first recommendation really tackles punctuality and traffic information. However, shifting the focus towards service and comfort, it is something that the east-west line train passengers really do value. It's because their train rides last from 1 to 4 hours, and when your train rides are that long, service and comfort come greatly in value. So with this, we can imply that DSB should further expand its service offering and customer experience for customers on its east to west lines. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you DSB Connect. What DSB Connect is the repositioning of east to west lines to focus on the concept of connectivity through the enhancements of services and comfort. And we'll be doing this through two main ways. So first of all, we'll be improving the on-train Wi-Fi through using iChimera's business solutions. iChimera is an innovative vehicle-based internet technology company that has been successfully implemented in many countries across the world. It will provide us with a guaranteed connection and also improved bandwidth and stability. The next aspect we wanted to focus on was more of the interior aspect by focusing on both business travelers and leisure travelers. For business travelers, we'll be offering them more personal space, on-site printer and fax to be complemented by the high-speed Wi-Fi. As for leisure travelers, we'll be providing them with collective seating, screens with live updates, shows, concert, etc. We believe this concept of DSB Connect will really draw customers away from cars onto trains by providing them with the right values and the right opportunities. So now let's look more into actually how we focus on enhancing the Wi-Fi. We plan on enhancing the Wi-Fi by using iChimera's MoveBox M800 technology, which is a multi-serial router and a Wi-Fi controller designed for complex railways. So before we get into the benefits of this technology, it's imperative to understand what is currently wrong with our Wi-Fi system. And we know currently that we're partnered with TDC, which is one of the largest telecommunication operators in Denmark. However, this presents us with two big issues. First, lack of signal coverage. In the case, it states that there's a lack of signal consistency and also a lack of signal strength. So we can say that this is due to DSB's lack of signal coverage, especially in the rural areas. The second issue that points out is a technology issue. As TDC is a telecommunication operator, their expertise does not lie on the technology aspect, and this becomes a big disadvantage because as trains start to move outside of Copenhagen and more in the rural areas, technology becomes so important. It's important that the train has a technology that can move from wireless system from network to network seamlessly. So now the main benefits of MoveBox M800, the first one is that due to its proprietary technology, it will allow the train's network to move seamlessly between network to network, offering a more consistent connection. The next part is that since iChimera is a technology company and not a telecommunication operator, they're not limited to just one network, unlike TDC. And at the same time, iChimera has many business partners such as Telenor, Telia, and 3. So we believe by using their business solutions, we'll have access to their partners, thus providing us with a wider coverage. The last benefit is that it will allow us to track back and real-time monitoring GPS, which will allow us the relay of information due to delays or anything. We have a successful case of iChimera and SJ in Sweden, which this technology was implemented, and it resulted in a 4% increase in customers and also a 25% increase in satisfaction. So now it's important to see the value it has for all stakeholders in this recommendation. First, the value for DSB is that it offers a more seamless customer experience. The value for customers is that it's more faster and a more reliable Wi-Fi connection. The value for iChimera is that it's the perfect business opportunity to increase their revenue. And the value for carriers is that they have the opportunity to utilize excess signal at cell towers in order to increase their revenues. Now, Wasin will financially justify our two recommendations.
Thank you. For the timeline and implementation for the platform enhancements, we expect the software development and testing to be done in the second quarter and the third quarter of this year, and we expect the platform to be launched by the last quarter of this year. For DSB Connect, we expect the partnership and negotiation with iChimera and its carriers to be done throughout the second quarter and the third quarter, and we expect the first pilot program to start by the last quarter of this year. There are also some key figures that we would like to address. With our recommendation, we expect the passenger kilometers contribution from the east-west lines to increase from about 35% to 39%. We also expect 500 million more kilometers passengers over the next 3 years, with 11 million people having guaranteed connection to the internet by the year 2017. And we also expect an increase in the satisfaction on the long-distance train lines. For the revenue forecast, we expect the base CAGR to grow from about 4% to 7%. For the future outlook, we think that in the future, when the government allows more leniencies in terms of the pricings, we believe that the company will be able to charge more on customers through the improvement of the Wi-Fi services. For the investment and cost structures, we expect the majority of the cost to revolve around traffic information system improvement and intercity train repositioning, including the Wi-Fi installation. We expect the total investment to be worth around 323 million Danish kroner. For recurring costs, we expect that we use the historical approach, and we expect the structure of the recurring costs to remain largely unchanged. All of this will be funded through the mix of short-term debt, long-term debt, and internally generated funds from the core business. For the net income forecast, sorry for the typo on the aggregate number, we expect the base CAGR to grow from around 3% to 14%. Looking into the futures, we see that our recommendations are like asset. So we focus more on asset utilization, generating more revenue from what we already have. So we expect that in the future, the profitability of the company will improve. Now, since DSB is still largely tied to the government, we expect that DSB will still answer to these three triple bottom lines, being economic, political, and reputational. With all our recommendations being set in place, we believe that DSB is now readier than ever to move forward, getting on track towards its future success. Thank you for your attention. We're now open for Q&A session.
The jury can begin to ask questions. You have 15 minutes.
Thank you for a good presentation. You didn't really touch upon the client segment or the new customer segments that you see would be drivers of the growth. Would you maybe elaborate on which customer segments that you would see transferring from other transportations into trains, and what should trigger them?
So one customer segment that we believe will actually move from more cars towards trains are the leisure travelers. And we understand that leisure travelers have to travel long distance for concerts, for shows, or for festivals. And by providing them with a more personalized space on the train where they can actually interact in a more social way, in a more effective manner, we believe we'll be drawing those leisure customers from more cars into trains.
Another group of customers that we would like to attract are the business travelers. Because right now we have low penetration on this group of business travelers, and business travelers value working space. So by offering this improvement in the Wi-Fi service, we offer the working space for business travelers to get on our train and utilize our services and give them the work environment experience.
You expect the company to become more customer-centric and also more innovative. Have you considered the consequences or the requirements for the organization and on the people side?
Sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yes, your strategy is based on the company becoming more customer-centric and also becoming more innovative, developing apps and so on. What requirements do you expect for the organization and the people side?
So the number one requirement that we do need for these two recommendations to work is collaboration. So let me elaborate further. The first recommendation also focuses on the collaboration from other public transportation systems in terms of the application. And also for the second recommendation, collaboration is something that's very important because the network operators such as Telenor, Telia, 3, it's something that we're going to need to collaborate with them with iCamera. So I would say collaboration is one of the most important things that we really do need to look at.
Is collaboration enough, or do you think that the organization need to be developed or even improving their competences?
What we can see here, as mentioned, that we are trying to not invest on a lot of new things, but try to utilize what we have already. For example, the platform of the offering of service of ticket and information, we're trying to make it one stop so it can be as seamless as possible to the consumer. As well as the in-camera, what we noticed that the company already has TDC, but what we're doing is that incorporate the technology part of the wireless so that the consumer can have this seamless experience on the train. So to answer again, rather than just invest on the new investment, we're trying to utilize what we have as much as possible.
Also, to further add on the organization, we believe that since this is now an era of data and new technologies, we believe that it is important for the company to constantly develop its technological skill and insights into what the customer these days wants and needs. So we see that by implementing our recommendation, we believe that it will not compromise the core value of the company, but rather it helps the company move forward together with the customers.
So I'm very impressed with your ability to go to a very detailed level, both in analysis and in solutions. And the very unique thing about your presentation is taking the drawback of being a publicly owned company with the bad image and the political constraints and taking that into a strength by making your owner allow you to tap into a newly developed European system that will improve customer service. So that's great. My question is, what if such a European system is delayed? Have you considered mitigation or how you could survive in the intermediate time with more local solutions?
Well, we have considered many alternatives in improving the performance of the company. For example, we do not only focus on the improvement of the east-west lines, but we also take consideration into other areas as well. Like, for example, we have a lot of troubles in the S-train segments. We believe that improving this according to what's on the slide will also help us gain more access to revenues, streams, and increase satisfaction of the customer in the long run as well. And since we have this as a backup plans, is pretty relatively easy to implement. So if our future long-term goal does not register, we believe that leveraging on this will help us survive in the short run.
Thank you for a very good presentation. Strategy is all about choices. It's about making the right choices, and I think it's a very good presentation, very detailed. Could you elaborate on some of the tough calls you made not to include in the strategy?
Sorry, can you repeat the?
So you made some choices in presenting and preparing the strategy. And for sure, there was something you did not include. You had to make some tough calls. Yeah, could you elaborate on one of the tough calls on what not to include?
So before we come up with the recommendation, we have prioritized this issue according to 3 criteria. So on the y-axis, you can see the strategic impact. On the x-axis, we use the ease of implementation. And the size of the circle here, we represent the magnitude of direct financial impact. So we prioritize accordingly, and you can see that F&R service enhancement, which is the second recommendation, and the traffic is the first one we tackle on. And the other are the things that we could do in the future.
I think one issue that we had too in discussing of what area to go was to figure out what trains should we target. Should it be the FNR trains? Should it be the trains that go to Sweden, or should it be the S trains? So we decided to focus on FNR trains. However, as my teammate Wasin just mentioned, we do have the backup ready for the S trains, and the trains go into Sweden too.
Yeah, so also a very impressive presentation. I think I like very much how you focused on the customer satisfaction drivers and you addressed them one by one in order of importance. If we take the first one, the frequency and punctuality, I was very impressed about your analysis on the ERTMS system. I can't even pronounce. But I was just wondering what other reflections you had on addressing that biggest concern, which had to do with both frequency and punctuality, because this was really the only thing you mentioned. And if that for some reason is not possible because it's not within your full control, what other things would you consider to address this point?
We noticed that the important part is not just the delay, because in terms of train system, public transportation system, delay can happen. So what we take in consideration is the notification of the delay. So we want the consumer to know if there is any problem, they need to know this. So for example, if the train is 10 minutes delay, and first, previously they might not be notified. But what we have implemented into our application is a system that will notify them directly, so they don't have to come to wait. So this is a part of important satisfaction of the consumer as well.
Also, I would like to add a little further. Now, suppose that we cannot really control our performance, we see that we can do other things by looking from the other side. We see that if delays or dissatisfaction occur within customers, we also discuss about this as well, and we look at other countries on what they have been doing to address this issue. For example, in Japan, when you cannot catch up a train, they issue a certification for your workplace to know that you're going to be late and it's not your employee's fault. We think that by going with this kind of short-term solutions, we will also be able to address a certain extent of the issue.
Thank you also from my point of view. Very, very good presentation. I think the strategy is quite clear. What is a bit less clear to me is the first part of your strategy, which is all about connecting the information and providing that through DSB on the go. Can you elaborate a little bit on the financial assumptions? So what is the revenue impact from DSB on the go?
In terms of the cost assumption, for the traffic information system improvement, I do not have direct access to all the smaller costs, but I take a look at all the reference. Like, for example, in Australia, their train transport, the organization is called ACT. They have invested in improving the the information flow of the train service, which is very similar to what DSB has been trying to do, like allowing notification to the customer, updating real-time information, and they have been investing around, I translated into Danish krone, and they cost about 70 million Danish krones. So I use that as a reference for the cost assumption, because they also expect, like their software development also serve very similar functions. So I think it was a relatable reference.
Great presentation, guys. Told with a lot of passion. Here's more a marketing question then. So you're merging 3 platforms into one, calling DSB on the go. What are some of the benefits of branding it DSB versus a more generic name, such as on the go or travel plan and such?
Sorry, can you repeat the second part, please?
So you've chose to brand your on-the-go app or this travel planning app DSB on the go. So why have you chosen to name it DSB when it also contains other modes of transportation and such?
The important part of this application is that it's a one-stop. So the reason why we make it on the go is that as soon as you have this mobile application, you'll be ready on the go, basically. From tip information, you can choose right away. Ticketing, payment, you can choose right away. So basically just on the go just really simplifies the trip easiness and seamlessly of the application as well.
And to add on to the aspect about putting DSB as the main company on this, we believe that it's due to DSB having being a state-owned company and having actually hopefully after these recommendations a more improved reputation. So we believe that by actually putting DSB as the face of this application, it will help actually be more approachable to more and more different types of customers.
Also, since DSB is government owned, we believe that the company has access to a lot of like resources like funding and all that. So we believe that they can lead other form of public transportations and bring them into the system. So that's why we think DSB should take the helm of this solution.
Sorry, could you elaborate a little bit on your financial plan? It's not entirely clear to me what assumptions you have for the 7.5% growth in passenger kilometers. And how the business case sort of stacks up in terms of returns.
Which part would you like to focus on?
The full financial plan for this strategy.
Okay. For the revenue, since the company has an expectation of growing the passenger kilometers by 7.5% in the next 3 years, I use that as a base. So I've looked into the East-West segment. They have about 9 million travels per year. I find the numbers of the passenger kilometers contributed by the East-West, and I look at the revenue generated by this segment. So I use that as a base. And once I increase the expectation of 7.5% increase in the passenger kilometers, that results in the rate number that you see, which is a contribution from the increased passenger kilometers. Yes. And also on the right-hand side, you can see all other assumptions. In terms of the cost, for the traffic information, I elaborated a little earlier. I used the reference from the Australian train services. And in terms of the intercity train, most of the costs will focus on Wi-Fi installment. I look at the Incomera past association with other companies. I found that I cannot find their exact cost on the installation of Wi-Fi on the train. However, Incomera once associated with the Go North East, which is a bus company in England, and they also installed the on-vehicle Wi-Fi based technology on this train as well. And it cost about 1.4 million Danish krone for each bus. So I use that as a reference in order to apply the numbers to the cost assumption of the Wi-Fi implementation on the DSB trains, because I think since it is the same technology, it should be relatable. And also the 200 million Danish krones, we only focus on the improvement on the IC series trains, since these are mostly used for the intercities. In the next 3 years, we will only be installing the Wi-Fi on about 140 trains. So 1.4 million for 140 trains results in about 200 million Danish kroner. Yes. And for the recurring costs, I took a look at the historical contributions, and the percentage are as follows. And in terms of the source of fund, I take a look at the company's statement of cash flow. And the company, like last year, the company spent about 1.7 billion Danish krone from the cash generated by operating activities in the investment. So we believe that by using this portion of number, since the investment is not very high, we can use the number to fund our projects. Oh, sorry.
Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to both our first finalist teams. Now, before we continue with the third and final presentation of today, we will have a short break of 15 minutes. And I encourage you to go outside and stretch your legs and be refreshed for the third presentation, but please keep an eye on the time. After 15 minutes, you will hear a bell ring, and by that time, you should be returned to your seats, because when the bell rings for the second time, the doors will be closing. So with that, enjoy your break, and I'll see you back in just a bit. Welcome back from the break, everybody. I hope that you had time to stretch your legs and that you're refreshed and ready for the third and final finalist presentation of today. In Group C, the following 4 universities competed: the University of Auckland Business School, Shantou University of China, Wharton University of Pennsylvania, and the National University of Singapore. The finalist from Group C is the defending champion of the CBS case competition, and we are excited to see if they can deliver an equally impressive solution this year. Please give a warm applause to Wharton University of Pennsylvania. Hi guys, you look amazing. Now, you know the rules. You have 15 minutes to present your solution, and my colleagues here will warn you when there are 5 minutes left, and again when there is 1 minute left. And when your time is up, you will be allowed to finish your sentence. After your presentation, you have 15 minutes to answer questions from the jury. And is everything clear and understood? Good. Take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Adina, and today we're excited to be talking to you about DSB. Now, DSB is a transformative part of Danish history, a real linchpin in its culture. And today, it continues to be transformative in recent years with innovation, operational improvement, and driving that bottom line growth. So with that said, we have 3 key objectives moving forward. That's to boost customer satisfaction, to achieve that 7.5% kilometer growth in 3 years, and to ultimately establish DSB as the backbone of the Danish transportation system. We'll be measuring the success of these objectives through kilometers traveled, as well as total profits. Now that we have our objectives in mind, let's dive into our market analysis through the lens of a SWOT grid. Starting with our strengths, DSB has recently had a successful turnaround due to strong corporate leadership, focusing on its core competencies, and hitting that 483 million krone mark in 2013. Now, it's also high-performing, benchmarked across other European railways, from timeliness perspective as well as market penetration. We want to leverage these strengths to address 2 key weaknesses, and that's customer perception, because Danes have such a high expectation for customer transportation, as well as having that non-integrated travel experience that we can better improve on. Opportunities, on the other hand, include digital media channels. So that's smartphones, tablets, social networks, as well as a real opportunity with modernizing infrastructures. So DSB has an opportunity to develop new products, services, promises to really build upon infrastructural improvements. And lastly, threats include political pressures across the board, but also the availability of alternatives, such as cars and buses. And understanding these alternative modes of transportation is going to help inform our positioning moving forward. So with all of that market analysis, we're coming away with a couple critical insights. And that's that consumers value transparency, and technology is really making that consumer company transparency available on an unprecedented level. Additionally, there's this increasing expectation for a complete and comfortable experience, and Danish consumers have an expectations gap when it comes to DSB, especially from a timing perspective. So the key takeaway here is that throughout all of these insights, at the core, at the center of DSB is the consumer, and managing those expectations on an experiential level is incredibly important. So what are these consumers saying? Behind me, you see a sample verbal analysis of words and adjectives associated with reviews about DSB. Now, about 50% of these 50% of these associations are negative, and 1 in every 6 specifically reference timing. However, Danish consumers actually cite punctuality as well as information and comfort as the most important factors when thinking about customer experience. So what this means is that there's a real opportunity here. So while customers are consumed with associations about timing in DSB, we have an opportunity to shift those associations and that mind space to start thinking about comfort and experience. So understanding that we need to make this shift happen, we have a customer affect spectrum here behind me, ranging from negative to positive experiences. Now, these initiatives on the left-hand side are really focused on infrastructural and operational improvements, really preventing a negative experience and bringing consumers back into that neutral territory. However, partnering with Bain Denmark and keeping in mind some of the constraints of operational and infrastructural improvements, it's actually incredibly important for DSB as a consumer-facing part of the travel experience to be moving towards developing, fostering positive customer experiences and building an emotional connection in addition to infrastructural improvements. So in simplest terms, this means that we need to shift away from simply preventing negative experiences and creating new positive experiences. And now that we understand why this shift needs to occur, Akshay is going to talk about how that informed our strategy.
Thanks, Adina. So as Adina mentioned, there has been, over the past few years, DSB has achieved a significant amount of growth in terms of its profitability. But going forward, growth really depends on providing a customer-centric experience. To that end, our strategic vision is to reposition DSB in order to foster a human connection through positive experiences. In terms of humanizing the brand, we want to develop an emotional connection with the people of Denmark, and we want them to understand that we value their relationship. We want them to know that we are listening to their needs, and more so than that, that we are taking active measures to address those needs. So to achieve this goal of fostering a human connection, we have developed 3 key strategic pillars of communicate, integrate, and delight. First, we want to increase the amount of communication that we have with our customers so that we can strengthen our relationship with them and increase transparency. In addition to that, we want to gather feedback so we can understand the key customer pain points and address them by improving our services. Second, we want to facilitate multimodal journeys so that we can integrate DSB into the consumer's lives. And this strategy fits in well overall with the company's objective of providing customers with a seamless travel experience from point A to point Z. And finally, we want to provide customers with moments of delight so that we can build loyalty and develop long-term relationships. So now that we have our strategy, I'd like to delve a little bit more into each of these pillars and specifically talk about the tactics that we can use to bring our strategy to life. First, as I mentioned earlier, at the core of our strategic vision is this notion of humanizing the organization. We know that Danish customers currently don't have the best associations with the DSB brand, but from an objective perspective, DSB is actually one of the best performers all throughout Europe. As a result, we believe that we need to undertake a mass marketing campaign, specifically focusing on developing a connection between the customer and the company. Based on external research conducted by BCG, we know that travelers actually have a positive association with trains, specifically because it invokes things like leisure, comfort, and a social experience. We want to bring these ideas back to the forefront of consumers' minds, and in doing so, we believe that we can elevate their experience and attract additional travelers. With that, I'd like to pass it off to Lois to talk about the rest of our tactics.
Thank you, Akshay. So in order to support our main vision of fostering a human connection, we need to engage customers in a two-way dialogue. As Adina mentioned, Infrastructure improvement is not easy for DSB, especially for delays. However, according to research conducted by an independent rail consumer organization in Great Britain, dissatisfaction is primarily driven by how companies deal with these delays, not by the delays themselves. So customer service and communication are really, really key in turning around perceptions. When we spoke with the head of communications, he mentioned the success of several initiatives that drove customer feedback, and we really want to continue the success through a few key tactics. First, we want to elevate the customer ambassador role to head of customer care. With the more direct tie to the CEO, customer feedback will be relayed to more senior leadership in the organization at a higher frequency than the biannual meetings that are currently in place. This role will also be charged with increasing the number of customer service representatives to increase the response rates, as we found that response rate was actually one of the key complaints among reviews. Additionally, we want to emphasize training for all consumer-facing roles, especially conductors. In a research conducted by Netherlands Railways, we found that conductors actually make or break the customer experience, and so we want to emphasize training across all levels. Once we establish and enable the capacity for communication across the organization, we want to engage customers in a two-way dialogue to strengthen the relationship and increase transparency. And by two-way, we mean not only taking in their feedback and improving the service, but also making sure that they understand that we're listening to their needs and actively improving on their concerns. So we're going to actually expand on the already successful app and create a feature that enables customers to chat live with customer representatives to reduce some of the friction required to do that, and also build a platform for crowdsourcing ideas and upvoting, and allow stronger and, I guess, more heavy users to help out other users to reduce the burden on our customer service employees. These two features are already capabilities that the development company has, so all we need to do is partner with them again. After we build that baseline of communication, we want to integrate ourselves into the lifestyles of Danish customers by providing a more seamless connection with other modes of transportation. We saw a huge market opportunity here. A BCG analysis revealed that 30% of current automobile drivers actually would prefer other modes of transportation if it were more convenient. We've already seen success with the free bike initiative. So with that, we propose expanding parking facilities for automobiles in 12 strategic cities over 3 years. Also, we want to strengthen partnerships with other transportation companies to align timetables and facilitate more connected travel. Along with connecting, communicating, and integrating, we also want to delight and build positive associations and loyalty by offering experiential services. We know that social media is on the rise, and with that comes opportunities and challenges given the negative perception of the brand. However, research has found that customers and travelers judge journeys by the peak and end. So they judge it by their most positive experiences throughout the journey and the end. And by elevating that peak, we can improve their associations and impressions overall. Travelers already consider railways to offer significant emotional benefits, so we can use that to our advantage. Other brands have leveraged this delight factor to great success. For example, KLM launched a 2010 campaign in which they gifted customers at check-in, and this campaign generated over 1 million Twitter impressions on a very low budget. DSB can create its own moments of delight by enhancing family-oriented services to create shared, delightful experiences. 2 ideas to do this is presenting random gifts of toy trains and train whistles to really make the kids excited about that train experience and make the parents happy as well. We also want to associate the train experience with shared happiness by providing family activities such as board games and the Danish favorite, Legos. We want to extend this delight also to the train station to make sure that the overall experience is pleasurable. We know that we are constrained by Bain Denmark on Wi-Fi improvements, but we can actually use this to our advantage. In 2012, Asahi Soft Drinks installed 1,000 vending machines with offering free Wi-Fi in train stations all over Japan. DSB can partner with Carlsberg to introduce similar vending machines to provide delight, craft customer experience, and also promote app downloads, which will further enhance that customer experience through the premium features in the app. As you can see, the tactics all map onto the strategic framework behind me to really drive home the key objective of fostering the human connection. Now Sakib will talk to you about execution and outcomes.
So thank you, Lois. Now that we talked about our strategy and tactics, let's tie it all together through thinking about the implementation and outcomes. To maximize effectiveness of all of our tactics, we've allocated them over a 3-year period beginning in July of 2015. As you can see, the mass media marketing campaign will occur across all 3 years to drive awareness of a new, more personable DSB. Beginning with customer care initiatives will provide a great base for growth later with infrastructural expansions as well as experiential services. But what does this mean through our key performance indicators? So through a top-down ridership analysis, we forecast 9.2% increase in distance traveled by passengers in 2018. This is over 7.2 billion in kilometers traveled and represents an 11% increase over the baseline historical average. But also, we know that profitability is a concern for DSB. And we've also forecasted not only maintaining profitability, but also slightly increasing it by 52 million crown by 2018. So we've achieved DSB's strategic objective of sustainable growth in the short term, but we know that in the long term, DSB wants to be the backbone for public transportation in Denmark. So thus, we've actually created a few key next steps that will allow DSB to address this. So we recommend 3 things. Partnering with retailers in stations to create stores that alleviate consumer frustration with delays. Also developing out the Wi-Fi infrastructure that consumers are greatly demanding, as well as introducing a referral system that will actually allow DSB to utilize its most heavy users to actually induce trial and create shared experiences. So now, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey that brought us here. We began with in-depth research that indicated DSB needs to address consumer pain points as soon as they walk out the door. This guided our strategy of repositioning DSB in order to foster a human connection through positive experiences. We will then foster the brand, communicate with travelers, integrate multimodal journeys, as well as delight customers with experiential services to increase distance traveled by 9.2% without sacrificing profits. So over the past few years, DSB has done a lot great in streamlining operations as well as investing in modernizing its infrastructure. Now is the time for DSB to really leverage this momentum to foster human connection through positive experiences. It is now time for DSB to become the desired mode of transportation in Denmark. Thank you, and we'll now take questions.
Thank you. The jury may proceed with questions.
Thanks for a very nice presentation. You have something a lot of companies would love to have. You have the customer's attention. They don't move away from you. They move with you, sitting in their trains. Have you considered to create more revenue streams out of that?
Absolutely. So while that's something that is implemented currently, we specifically wanted to see, as far as next steps go with retailers, how we could build upon those retail partnerships and make sure that these companies are getting priority and therefore further integrating the on-train experience with the physical experience at stations. So as far as these retailers go, we're looking at profit models and really great examples throughout Asia. So the most successful transportation systems in the world, Hong Kong, Japan, they all rely on retail partners in order to create a revenue sharing system to make transportation systems not only sustainable, but incredibly profitable. So that's the direction we would move in with that.
You mentioned on one of your slides the word optimized timetable, and you didn't elaborate on that. Could you please entertain a little more on that subject?
Yeah, so the thinking is that sometimes we notice in the case that after 500 meters, ridership significantly drops off for commuting. And we were thinking that maybe that's too much of a distance to walk. So we want to make it possible for customers to take the bus to the train station and take the train from there. But under time constraints, sometimes that is not possible. So we want to first do customer research to research what kind of routes people would be most coming from, and then aligning timetables, so their timetables with ours, so that we can capture a large portion of those commuters.
I like that you put the customers on top, even with their own ambassador, and you want to give them emotional benefits and excite them with moments of delight. It sounds very nice. I wonder whether it's realistic in our trains. So my question is, you did mention something about KLM, but I do wonder, do you have other relevant benchmarks where this has actually been done successfully?
Yeah, so let me actually walk through, I guess, the financial modeling to show you that it actually is very realistic. So first I'll start out with how we actually calculated the passenger travel, the increase in passenger travel to get it to 9.2%. So we actually used a lot of the segment data and population data in the case to actually look at what the population of Denmark was, and relative to that, what the actual number of travelers on DSB were. And then utilizing the different tactics that we have based on the different case studies that we had talked about, so not only Carlsberg, but also the KLM example, as well as utilizing sort of different Legos as well as board games in trains, we were able to calculate an increase in the number of customers as well as the distance of kilometers per travel that would be increased based off of these case studies. So we then use this to actually develop our profits, and we use this increase in distance traveled as well as the increase in the number of customers to develop the revenue streams, as well as then looking very granularly into the costs of these different tactics. So we know that DSB is very, very focused on the actual upfront costs as well as maintaining profitability. So we took a very, very small individual level granular approach, looking at even the individual number of Lego sets that we'd be putting on trains. And through this analysis, we found that DSB would actually be able to maintain profits and slightly increase it as well. So through the case studies, we were able to really see that these tactics were effective.
And just to build off of that, in terms of the case studies, we mentioned a couple during our presentation. There were Asahi, there was KLM, but one that we didn't mention and was very potent for analysis was actually Lululemon. It was in a similar position a few years ago when it didn't have the best brand name. There were its growth had caused some operational issues, and it didn't have the greatest brand name, but it implemented a similar initiative to ours in terms of communicating with its customers, engaging them in a two-way dialogue, specifically through their website and through their blogs, and that has resulted in a huge turnaround for the company. So we do try to benchmark all of our tactics against something that has happened, but obviously we also have some of our own ideas in there.
Thank you. Small add-on. We all want better Wi-Fi, and you mentioned that towards the end, but the key is how and when. Have you got around to considering that, or is it, it was mentioned on the next step, so maybe you didn't get around to that?
Yeah, so definitely. Wi-Fi is certainly a key tactic, and we know that it's everyone wants Wi-Fi, but it's difficult to get them on the trains because there's multiple steps involved in that process. First, you have to have the network company, the company that builds the network, build the infrastructure to the train lines. Then you have to have Bain Denmark actually set up the infrastructure around the lines, and then finally, the role of DSB is to kind of ensure the connectivity to the train. So there's a lot of steps involved with that. Obviously, we want to move towards that. We want to move to a more integrated architecture, but there are a lot of steps to that. So we didn't think it was feasible in the short term, but we do believe that it's feasible in the long term. And just to pivot off of that, we actually, in terms of when we were considering our tactics, we had a lot of tactics that we were brainstorming, and we knew that we had to pick a few. So to pare them down, we actually developed this mechanism. It's a 2x2 matrix with feasibility on the vertical axis and impact on the horizontal axis. And each of the dots are one of the tactics that we considered. The green ones are the ones we actually decided to use in the short term. The blue ones are the ones we want to adopt in the long term. And the red are the ones that we did not adopt at all. So you can see most of the all the strategies that we adopted for the short term have high impact, high feasibility. And the ones for the long term also have high impact, but feasibility is low right now, and we believe that we can bring that up in the long term. So I think by creating this sort of a matrix, we're able to come up with a systematic way to find the best strategies and make sure that they were impactful and feasible.
I'm also fascinated by the idea of putting the customer in focus. However, I would like to learn a little bit more about which segments you actually believe you'll get your growth from and the kind of operational issues that you have considered in that respect.
All right, so specifically when we were looking at segmenting, we segmented by behavior a lot, but ultimately we decided to go with a mass market strategy. And that's because first and foremost, this is a public service. There is a greater responsibility to serve as many people as possible. And in addition to that, when we were looking at growth objectives, it was difficult to find all of that growth through a single segment or targeting a single segment. So for example, when we were looking at the commuter segment, that's already really saturated. In addition to, we were running into capacity issues as far as timing goes. On the flip side, when we were looking at the leisure segment, we couldn't find and derive all of that growth from that single segment. So that's why we definitely went with a mass market strategy after considering all of the different segmentations we could envision.
But this mass market strategy would only be possible if they all had underlying behavioral similarities. And in our research, we found that even though there are small differences, we see the lust customer or the leisure travelers in the pink and the must customers, commuters, they have slight differences in their emotional experience throughout the different touch points of the journey, but their underlying emotional experience is the same. So by building an emotional connection between the brand and the customer, we can effectively capture these customers.
We know that there'll be a lot of maintenance and construction work going on over the next 3 years on the east-west line. Have you considered the reputational challenges and how to mitigate these?
All right, so when we were thinking about how to deal with delays in construction, we really think it's all about communicating with our customers. So for example, I enjoy my ride if I have a feeling that I am in control. This is a customer need, and we understand that in order to address it, it's all about communicating with them and telling them what is going on, and that mitigates that emotion and that need for control.
And we believe that additionally, by delighting the customers, we can distract them somewhat from the construction that is happening.
So, as you were mentioning, DSB has been through a restructuring over the most recent years, and now it's turning to the better from a profit point of view. But from a cultural point of view, I think if you talk to the leadership of DSB, there's still a way to go for the people in the organization. So trying to leverage on the purpose telling that you're doing here, but also to energize the organization, how would you do that?
Yeah, so we know that there are significant changes involved with this strategy, and we really needed the entire organization to buy into the strategy. And so we definitely considered all these risks with risk groups when we were considering our strategy. And so we see internal buy-in is one of the key areas that we considered. And a key tactic that we considered was involving employees in the design of the program and involving them in every step of the way so that they don't feel excluded, and just like our customers, that their voices are being heard and that we're appreciating their input.
So when you look at Kotter's eight-step organizational change model, what it really relies on is getting buy-in from key stakeholders within the organization, which would be a huge concern for this sort of strategy. But we believe that we can actually mitigate that through developing through a core change team that not only incorporates management and external consultants, but all stakeholders across the various divisions within the organization. So by involving employees in this actual change, you can generate buy-in and communicate the vision throughout the organization to actually create a new customer service experience in DSB.
I have
one question, and but first an observation. I like your tactics that always two of you answer. I'm not sure if that so that you get fewer questions. A simple one, more to what you've not done rather than what you've done. I mean, you have so much unused kilometers in the network. Why just don't you give it away for free or at least very cheap?
So in terms of kind of focusing, again, we try to use this this matrix to inform all of our decisions. And in terms of the extra capacity and things like that, we just didn't know if we had a clear way to implement that while having maximum impact and feasibility. We believe that the other tactics we selected in the short term provide much more of an impact because we do want to focus on that consumer-centric experience. It sets us up for both short-term growth, and by improving that reputation, we can continue to have them as customers and really improve profitability and distance traveled over the long run.
Yeah. Do you need two answers again?
Yeah, so going off, we definitely considered what to do with price promotions since we had heard that price cuts were such an effective way of driving volume. And we know that kilometers traveled is a key objective. However, it just went against our long-term strategy of enhancing the customer experience and building DSB to be this emotional brand. In addition, it reduces transparency in pricing structure and just confuses the customer. So we felt that even though in the short term it could generate more revenue and more volume, in the long term it just wasn't conducive to a lot of growth.
Thanks. Just one observation first. Thanks for understanding Danish culture so well, so you want to install beer vending machines at stations. So we completely forget everything about delays, right? So well done on that one. A question, have you know, I like your initiatives. My concern is, can you get there in time? Not the trains, right? But can these initiatives get there in time? Because do you expect when you look at the plan that everything drops in year 3 from now? Or can you actually get it gradually? Building parking, for instance, was one of your key initiatives. I don't think you can do that in 6 months, right? It takes longer time, for instance.
Yeah, so when we actually look at the timeline, we've really tried to optimize it according to what you were saying, that we're actually ramping up and trying to we're trying to implement all of our tactics in such a way where they are realistic and that they'll create the most effective customer experience without needing too much capital upfront. So we first focused on actually fixing the customer service experience. That's really at the core of what DSB needs to do. So by actually focusing the organization on customer experience and then developing systems that can communicate directly with consumers, you can then move forward and actually leverage sort of DSB's operational excellence to expand the infrastructure in terms of car parking, as well as then expanding with more experiential services such as onboard family board games and train sets, as well as installing the vending machines with Wi-Fi that the Danes would love so much.
Not to mention one of the
time you had. Thanks, guys. Thank you to all our 3 finalist teams. This was our 3rd and final presentation of today. The teams have given everything they had, and I'm sure that everyone in this room is impressed with all the solutions we've seen today. Now it is time for our jury to deliberate so they can decide who we can announce the winner of today's competition. So please, give them a big round of applause as they exit the room. Now, when the jury returns in about 35 minutes, they will have decided on who we can announce the winner of CBS Case Competition 2015. But before that, we have a couple of exciting things on the program lined up for you. In a short while, you will be able to lean back and enjoy our surprise live act of the afternoon. But before that, we have another important competition to settle, namely that of the best presenter of today. Today, competition for jobs is as fierce as ever, whether you're a business student or an experienced professional. And the ability to stand out of a crowd has never been more vital than now. One thing that really sets a person apart from competition is the ability to present oneself clearly, precisely, and passionately. The ability to grab hold of an audience, be it a case competition jury or board of directors. So today, we want to honor a contestant who is able to do just that. And that is why we ask you to vote for our best presenter. In front of you, you have some clickers, which we'll use to cast a vote. And we will ask you to vote for your favorite presenter from each of the 3 finalist teams in turn. The presenter with the most votes from each team will be nominated for best presenter and will vote again. From the first team, we had the following 4 presenters. Now, when I tell you to begin to vote, please press the button on your clicker corresponding to the person from this team that you felt presented the best. You have 10 seconds to vote, and you may begin now. Thank you. Now, from the second team, we have the following 4 presenters. Same procedure as before. Press the button corresponding to the person who was the best presenter from this team. You may begin to vote now. Thank you. And from our third and final finalist team, we had the following 4 presenters. Please, again, vote for your favorite, and you may begin now. Thank you. Now, you have nominated your 3 favorite presenters from today. But before we go on to vote for who will finally be named the best presenter of the day, I'd like to empathize how important this award is. In the CBS case competition, as some of you might know, the teams only have 32 hours to prepare the best solution possible for our case company. And in those 32 hours, they also have to prepare a full slide deck and backup slides so that they can wow the judges with their solution. The 32 hours, they go by in a blink of an eye. So often, the teams will not have had time to rehearse their presentations and divide out the slides between them when they hand in their final presentation. This is something they do at night after they hand in. And I know because last year I stood in a basement with my teammates at CBS just an hour before we presented with our laptop on top of a beer keg from Nexus and practiced our presentation. So the ability of all the finalist teams to stand here and present their solutions today, this clearly and this convincingly, is really something they should be proud of. And I'm sure that the winner of the award today will go to great lengths both in academia and in business life. So I'm sure that you now get the procedure. In a bit, you'll see the 3 pictures of the people you nominated Best Presenter. You press the button corresponding to your favorite, and we find a winner. So please, cast your vote between your 3 favorite presenters of the day. You can only vote once, and you may begin now. Thank you for your votes. We will announce the winner of Best Presenter in a while, just before we announce the winner of today's competition. Thank you. With the jury returned, we are quickly approaching the final and most important announcement of today. But before we give the floor to DSB to reveal the winner of today's competition, I have one final and very important introduction to make. Everyone who has walked through the halls of CBS this week will have begun to understand that CBS case competition is no small event. With a full program of events and happenings stretching across several weeks, as well as a full program for our participants all through week 9, it seems impressive that CBS case competition is a student-run organization managed and executed only by a team of hardworking students. What seems even more remarkable is that the organizing committee is re-elected annually and that the organization thus reinvents itself every year, starting over from scratch. Under these conditions, having a team of hardworking and dedicated students work together towards our common goal goes a very long way. But it's not enough. In order for CBS case competition to materialize into the kind of spectacular event that we've witnessed not only in here today, but all throughout the week and all throughout the year, you need a team of people who can take the wheel and steer everyone in the same direction. People who will willingly push aside their jobs, their studies, and their personal time to help you when pressure rises. People who, when you're just about to give in, can remind you that this very moment is what we have been working towards for the past 10 months. Luckily, this year's organizing committee had exactly such leaders. And throughout the year, they have continuously impressed us with their dedication, their devotion, and their skill, as well as their ability to constantly encourage and inspire us. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great admiration that I introduce to you this year's steering committee, Jannicke and Andreas.
Thank you, and thank you, Simone, for your touching words. I'm not quite sure if I can hold this speech right now, but I will give it a try. What you have seen throughout the last couple of days, and also today, shows what dedication is. The finalist presentations and solutions show how case competitions bridge the gap between academia and business. The teams have been working hard for 32 hours, and we will find out who the winner is in just a bit. We are proud that we have been able to provide the playground to make this show possible, and even prouder that we made it here. This wouldn't have been possible without the organizing committee, our preferred partners, our dedicated case company, and our other devoted stakeholders.
Week 9 is CBS Case Competition Week. Our 6 preferred partners have made this week a week to remember. They have contributed an extensive amount of resources to create interesting and inspiring events. Events, freebies, and networking. More than 4,000 students have participated in this year's Week 9. Thus, we would like to express our gratitude to our partners, sponsors, and funds who have helped us create this year's events. Without them, Week 9 wouldn't be possible.
Another necessity for a case competition is a case, and a case company willing to commit. We would therefore like to thank this year's case company, DSB. We're extremely grateful that we have had DSB as our case company, as it is deeply embedded in Danish culture. This year's case is highly relevant, and it demonstrates how students can use their academic knowledge to navigate in the complex environment DSB operates in. We hope that you got inspired by the interesting and new ideas the students came up with in how to make passengers take the train. We hope that you are in turn proud of the contribution that you have made to students' practical education. The backbone of our case competition is our jury. We acknowledge how demanding it is to take an entire day out of your busy schedule, and we would like to thank you for that. On behalf of everyone involved, we would like to thank you for your commitment, your tough questions, and for supporting our cause.
Having thanked our partners, the case company, and the jury, it is now time to thank the organizing committee for their work. Without those 33 dedicated individuals, there wouldn't have been any preferred partner, or a case, or Week 9, as we have experienced it. They have invested more than 12,000 hours of voluntary work over the past 10 months. And during this time period, they have surprised Yannick and I again and again with their dedication, their commitment, and their willingness to make CBS Case Competition 2015 possible. Today is the day that marks the end of our journey together. And we cannot express how thankful we are to have had you all on board. What you all have created this year is far beyond what Yannick and I could have ever expected. And the organizing committee, we see no better way to end this journey together than to bring you all down to the stage. Please welcome this year's organizing committee.
Vil du gå lidt derover?
Ja.
Nej. Nå. Fint nok. Well, Andreas? Thank you, organizing committee. Before we continue with the announcement of this year's winner, it has to be emphasized that there isn't just one winner today. Our parallel competition, Beat the Elite, was created to spread the case concept in the Nordics. And having received 118 solutions from 4 countries, we can proudly say that we have taken the first steps in spreading the concept of case solving. In fact, in 2 weeks, DSB will have a strategy session to discuss which elements of your solutions, as well as the international solutions, will become part of the future strategy. How fantastic is that? This morning, the 5 best teams presented their solutions in front of a tough panel of judges, and the winner was found. To honor their engagement and commitment, we would like to welcome the Beatly Elite winners on stage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation this morning. I hope you had fun. Perfect. Thank you.
Now, before we get to the award ceremony, we would like to thank the schools and the participants today. You guys have done an outstanding job. And I think we'll all leave this room being truly inspired by your creative solutions. You are the reason why we in the organizing committee try to achieve new heights every year. Thank you for making this a lifetime experience for us. We sincerely hope it has been a lifetime experience for you as well. Now, let's move on to the awards. We'd like to start out by handing out the award for the best presenter. So we'd therefore like to welcome on stage all the finalist teams as well as their team hosts. Good job, Evan. Now, with the teams gathered on stage, we are ready to give the winner his prize. We believe that you could potentially have the winning solution, but if you're not able to communicate this effectively, you might not even reach the final. It is essential that you're able to entertain your audience, present your findings clearly, and of course, that you're able to convince the board or the jury that your idea is the best. Today's winner can proudly say to fulfill all these characteristics. It is therefore with great pleasure that we can present this year's best presenter and the winner for Jabra Soulmate speaker, Vibhu. Congratulations, Vibhu.
All right, and now it's time, finally, for the moment that we've all been waiting for. To announce the winner of CBS Case Competition 2015, we would like to welcome on stage the acting CEO of DSB, Mr. Steve Pastwa. Vi sætter os. Skal vi ikke sætte os? Ja, vi bliver stående.
Now I stand here and in between announcing who's the great winner of today, and I still have to say, wow, these are fantastic presentations that you've all done. The teams up here, but all the teams, so all the 48 participants, all the 12 teams, you've done a great job, and I'm sure with the stuff we can take back, and as you also mentioned, I'm sure there will be a lot that we can use in our work as we go forward to implement in DSB. Choosing the one that has truly understood what are some of the challenges of DSB, what is the case all about, how can we actually excel on using customer service as the lever to create growth, is not an easy one. You've all been there, you've all done your job, you all excelled at doing exactly that. So you all presented solutions that would help us to achieve those goals. But there is one team, because one has to be chosen, that could stand out a little bit from the other teams, and with that, showing their precise solutions, their full understanding of the challenges we have, make a deep analysis that would enable them to make sure that the solutions that they come forward with can actually be implemented. And by doing that, also backing it up by what is the outcome and how does the finances look once you've done that, and thereby both increase our passenger kilometers, so be part of achieving the goal of DSB overall, but also the political goals longer term. So with those words, not to keep it much longer, this year's winner, McGill.
Skal jeg tage billeder, eller?